Evening. Good evening. I'm Barbara Zoller-Gringer, the co-chair of this committee, along with Andrew Lastawecki, my co-chair. Welcome. We are starting to record the meeting, and this is the Parks Committee meeting for October 18th. We're called to order. We're recording it for public access and archiving in accordance with the New York State Open Meetings Law. Our general practice is to ask committee members to keep their cameras on, and we encourage others to keep their cameras on as well, especially if you're planning to speak. We do ask that if you are not speaking, you keep your microphones muted. It really helps because it's very easy to get feedback, and we will let you know when the time is appropriate for the public to make comments, the committee members, and we also invite you to use the chat to ask questions if you don't have time to ask those questions during the proceeding. And we are always committed to providing access for all of our neighbors to these meetings. If you require an ADA accommodation or assistance for full participation, please contact the district office, if possible, 72 hours before any of our meetings. I'm now going to ask our committee members to introduce themselves. Can we start with Jennifer, who I want to thank for doing our minutes and who is going to be taking the minutes this evening? Jennifer, can you introduce yourself?
Jennifer Malby, member of the committee.
Thank you. Carolyn?
Carolyn Hubbard, Common Unweary. I'm a member of the committee and a member of the board.
Thank you. Lenny?
Lenny Levington, member of the committee.
Thank you for being here tonight. Suzanne?
I am Suzanne Quint. I'm a member of the committee and a member of the board.
Okay, and do we have any other committee members present? Okay, all right, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve our agenda this evening?
So moved.
Okay, Carolyn, a second from Suzanne. All in favor? Okay, the motion is carried. We move now to the approval of the minutes from our September meeting. We've had some changes to the minutes, and I sent out the final changes yesterday. Does anybody else have any other changes to the minutes or any problems with any of the changes that have been made? Okay, I would ask that we approve them by consensus the minutes from September 20th, 21st. And again, a thank you to Jennifer Melby for taking those minutes. We turn now to the presentation part of our proceeding tonight. We're very fortunate to have Chris Yandoli, who's the Director of Capital Projects. Who better to talk about the state of capital projects for New York City parks in Brooklyn? And I know everyone will give Chris their attention. So Chris, you have the floor.
Great. Thanks for having me, and thank you Community Board 2 for hosting. Also joined this evening by Hannah Basio, who is our outreach coordinator with Partnerships for Parks, a program of the Parks Department that works with community advocates, community volunteers. And I believe our park manager is also on, Andrea Keys.
Okay.
So I can start by sharing the the capital status reports. Let me just pull that up. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is let me just move this bar away. Okay. So this is all of the capital projects that are current in Community Board 2. I'll just run through them quickly. Okay, so we're going to start with Fort Greene, and I know this is sort of first on our list, and I'm sure it's first on a lot of the community board members' lists. So essentially, renovations happening at Fort Greene are happening well, they were happening in sort of three phases, what we're calling phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. And they, sort of were scoped at different times. Those have been since combined into a single contract, and an environmental assessment statement is being prepared on those 3 phases. So right now we're working on the draft of the environmental assessment statement. That will, we're working with our consultant on that. When we finalize that will go to other city agencies for their input on the statement. We're hoping to have that sort of wrapped up by the end of the year, and have a kind of a decision made on the statement. Once that happens, the project can go out to public bid and it can sort of proceed as a capital construction project. So we're about 50% completed with design on that one. And construction for all of the phases is where we're hoping is likely to start in spring of 23. So this is the first one. This is the Myrtle Avenue Landscape and Pathways Project, Fort Greene. And this is the next phase. So this is the Parks Without Borders project within the larger project at Fort Greene. Again, same information combined as part of a larger contract in multiple phases, and also having environmental assessment statement completed. And the last phase, I think we came recently to the community board with this one for approval. This was sort of added later to the larger project. And this is addressing some of the infrastructure within the park as well. So drainage and benches and pathways mostly. So again, hoping to start this construction on this spring of 23. Commodore Barry Park is another one. That's a large project in the neighborhood. This one is delayed for a couple of reasons. Unfortunately, we, as part of every capital project, we do some subsurface investigation. We found that there was some conditions here that needed remediation. So COVID sort of delayed things a bit. We needed specific contractors that were harder to procure during COVID to do some more sort of investigative testing to figure out exactly what was going on underground. So that's been completed, but everything sort of pushed back a bit. So we're hoping construction starts on this field spring of 23 as well. And again, this is a large scale renovation of the field at Commodore Barry. This is another exciting project at Commodore.
Is it okay to ask a question while we're going through?
I think we want to wait till the end
Okay.
for questions. Okay.
Sounds good.
This is exciting as well. This is a separate contract at Commodore Barry to renovate the comfort station that's adjacent to the field that we'll be renovating. Later on in the presentation, you'll see our needs, our capital needs, and we have the other phase of Commodore Barry sort of outlined. But this is a fully funded project to renovate the comfort station. We're hoping this one starts construction this spring in 22. So again, full reconstruction. We're sort of enlarging the bathrooms a bit, making them ADA accessible. So it's a great project. This one, formerly known as Bridge Park 2, Susan Smith McKinney Stewart Park, under construction currently. So it started construction this past spring, and we're hoping it will complete spring of 22. We also are working with the bid in the area to address some of the conflict with pedestrians, and I know there's been conflict with our construction trucks trying to get in on J Street. So we've looked at that today, and we've spoken with the contractor, so we're hoping to work something out. I don't know if you could see my cursor, but it's somewhere in this area that we're gonna address with the contractor soon. So there's a few things going on at the Brooklyn War Memorial. This is a project that just wrapped up, actually, I think. Just cursor's in the way. Yep, so we just completed this as of a couple of weeks ago. There was a renovation of the sort of plaza behind the building. And in the interior of the building, we installed an elevator to get you sort of from the ground floor to the program space on top. So not sure what the programming intention of the building will be long-term, but when it is decided, it will be a fully ADA accessible building, which is exciting. And everything has been completed as of a couple weeks ago. It's another project sort of right adjacent to the building. So here is the building, the plaza that we were just looking at sort of back here. This one, like most of our construction projects or capital projects during COVID, is sort of delayed because of all the financial crisis associated with COVID. So this one's been delayed a fair amount, and we hope to start this construction of this project in fall of 22. And this is just renovation of the pedestrian pathways and benches and lighting in the area. This is what we call our Artillery Street Comfort Station at Cadman Plaza. This is a project that's been on our needs list forever, and one that really we're hoping to get done soon. We estimate construction to start on this building fall of 22. So a full upgrade of the building and a renovation. The comfort stations within the Brooklyn War Memorial itself on the first floor, we have funding to do those. That will start this fall. We're hoping within the next few weeks. So I'll make sure to let the community board know when we're going to close those temporarily for construction, but that's exciting, get those upgraded finally. Washington Hall Park, this is a nice little project. It's a renovation of the basketball courts on site. It's sort of a smaller project as far as capital money goes, 1.4 million. And we're hoping to start construction spring of 22. So it'll be a nice little renovation there. Kyler Gore, we had a nice scope meeting with the community board a couple months ago. This one is currently in design, so I don't have a rendering to show just yet. But again, a really exciting project for the neighborhood. And then Green Playground, also, I think on the same evening, we had a scope meeting for Green as well. Again, just the renovation of the playground on site. Exciting news is we've made some progress on the sinkhole that's sort of in the multi-purpose play area, just outside of the new project scope. So I have to check in with our shops, but I think they've been able to get that rectified. But again, this one is on a similar timeline as Kyler Gore, and it'll be fall of 23 construction start. And then the last three are what we call green infrastructure. It's a program that's managed by the DEP, New York City DEP, Environmental Protection. It's aimed at sort of increasing porous surface and taking some of the stormwater out of the combined system. So essentially what they do is we'll dig into or excavate in a multi-purpose play area, asphalt area, or a basketball court, install subsurface drainage systems, and then repave on top. So it's a nice way for parks to get sort of a new basketball court or a new multi-purpose play area. And then it's good for Department of Environmental Protection because they get added stormwater benefits. So this is one, they're sort of in a multi-site contract, so it's hard to sort of estimate exactly when they'll start, but we're looking at a fall 21 start here. So again, getting a couple new basketball courts at Parham from this program. Same thing at Classen, we're gonna get a few new basketball courts here as part of the program. Again, similar construction timeline, hoping to start in spring of 22. They take about 3 to 6 months, these projects, so they're not like a long capital timeline like our normal renovations, but they are pretty impactful because it's a quick way for us to get a sort of a newer looking park with added environmental benefits. So Classen as well. And then the last one, Oracle, similar situation, green infrastructure project and a similar timeline. So I think that's it for the status. So that's all of our current capital projects. I don't know if we want to pause for questions, or I can show the our capital
Yeah.
needs.
I thought, Chris, this would be a good idea to have some questions now
Sure.
on this portion of your presentation. So we'll start with committee members. Suzanne, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a bunch of questions, but I'll maybe do one or two and let other people ask theirs
Thank you.
as well. I guess my first question was with regards to Commodore Barry, just to educate us a bit on the types of remediation that were needed there.
Sure. I have to find out exactly. From what I'm told, I don't believe it's an alarming amount of contaminants that were found, but it was enough to sort of trigger remediation on the site. But I can get more detail about that and get back to the board, because I know that's, anytime you mention sort of contaminants or remediation on the site, it's our responsibility to sort of let the community know what's happening.
Yes,
But-
exactly. That's
but,
just
you
what I
know,
was thinking. I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm
we
sure.
have a similar situation at Red Hook where things were so bad that we actually had to close the field to the public because it was a safety hazard for them to continue using the field. That's not the case here. There's no reason to be alarmed. We're not required to close the field, and the levels are not bad enough where we would be required to close the field. But when we do excavate for a new field and install, drainage and everything we have to install for a new field, we will be required to remediate. So, but I will get back to you with that.
Yeah,
answer.
I think it's just important that we have that publicly
Yeah.
noted.
For
And
sure.
then my second question on Commodore Barry, and then I'll turn it over to others. Just the comfort station.
Mhm.
My memory's not always the best, but I think this is, and I'll ask my other committee members. This is news to us, right? The comfort station at Commodore Barry.
No.
We knew that was getting done.
Yeah, I think, didn't we vote on it a while back?
Oh,
And
maybe.
didn't we have the same issues about male,
signage?
female? Yeah.
About the signage? Oh, was
Yeah.
that,
Taya-
I actually happened to miss that meeting that the signage was discussed, so perhaps.
Taya,
Okay,
do you
so-
remember if we had talked about this? I know Andrew would remember, but he's not on the call
Yeah.
tonight.
Or maybe
But-
Chris even knows if this was.
Yeah.
if
I'm
this
pretty
Yeah.
sure we did vote on it and discuss it here.
It wasn't one where we would have had a scope meeting for, but I do remember us bringing it to the board for approval, because it's more of a, when it's a renovation like that, it's a replacement.
Okay,
in kind,
great.
so,
Great. I'll pass it to anyone else.
I think we did. I remember that.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, I think it might have been that meeting I missed.
Right.
Okay. All right, did any other committee? Yes, Taya's confirming that we had reviewed it. Any other committee members have questions? All right, well, I think I'll hold my my questions till later.
Ms. Zoller-Gringer, Ms. Resi has her hand up.
Sure. Go ahead.
Sabrina, we just lost you.
Oh,
Maybe
Hi,
try.
thanks for jumping on late. I'm joining work. You can.
Okay,
you
let's
hear me
try,
now?
yes, go ahead. Uh-oh, I think what we might want to do,
Okay,
Sabrina,
I apologize. I
no
just want-
problem. Sabrina, could we try killing your video feed so that maybe we can hear you? Okay, try
Yeah, is
talking
that
now.
better?
Yes, that is better. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
yes.
Sorry, I don't have a choice. I'm joining from a work event here. I was wondering if the roof renovations are included in the Brooklyn War Memorial project. I understand the roof hasn't been repaired in 25 years.
There's no roof renovation in any of the current projects at the War Memorial, but I'll check with our design team. But as far as I know, there's no roof renovation in the project. It's what we did recently
Okay.
is yeah. We
No,
did
I
some
was
in-
just going to acknowledge Doreen Gallo from Cadman Park Conservancy, and I know we have some other people on here as well. What could we do to get that repair included? And I know there are a few. Is there anything at this stage that we can do to?
Not at this stage. I can mention it to the commissioner. We can have our architects and engineers look at it. It's the first I'm hearing of a need for the roof to be repaired. But no, it's the contract that's for the renovation. The comfort station is already, ready to go for construction. So it's already been bid, and the most recent project, we did address, minor things on the interior and the installation of the elevator, but the roof was not addressed. It is something I can bring back. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll let other folks address any other questions on that. But I live near Adam Yarich Park in Willowtown, and we have a big problem with rats in the neighborhood. I mean, I could tell you in detail, but I won't. You'll have to take my word that I've picked up several, from the front of my own property. Is anything being done to address that?
That's a maintenance concern. Our park manager, I believe, is on. So we'll look into that site. I mean, we, rats is something we deal with at a lot of the parks, but I don't know specifically what's been done to target rats at Adam Yacht.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay. Any other questions from committee members?
Can I ask my
Right.
remainder question?
Yeah. I
Okay,
was about to
thank you.
say that. Yeah.
So I don't know if this is like a question or maybe we punt it over to discussion for us as a committee. Well, the first thing I wanted to say is just, I think it's sort of amazing in 3 years' time between fall 2021 and fall 2024, the amount of improvements we're going to have to parks in our district, especially you add in the recent news here with Washington Hall and of course, the bigger projects. It's really something I think that everyone can feel proud of. It's a lot of work happening in our district. My question was about the projects that are happening with the is it DEP and those small amounts of monies that are needed to sort of take it over the top with the basketball, with the new basketball courts, and is there sort of a pathway to getting that funded, and or is that something that perhaps this committee can be advocating for, with various electeds or whatnot? Participatory budgeting would cover I think those dollar amounts. Just any input or guidance, Chris?
yeah, I don't know exactly how they choose the sites. So it's sort of managed by DEP. So I'm sure they run their own calculations and things about which sites actually get get stormwater management systems installed.
Yes.
But they give us a list of potential sites, and then we sort of try to help them narrow it down on which ones we prefer them to do. And sometimes they're proposing doing things that would disrupt the park or historic nature of the park, and we have to turn them down for certain reasons. But if the board has sites, I mean, it has to be a impervious surface, so a basketball court or a multi-purpose play area. We wouldn't normally we're not going to remove a playground to install a system underneath. But it would
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. My question was, the update noted that for $30,000,
right,
new backboards, et cetera, can be added here.
okay.
And so I was, does Parks have a pathway to fund that?
Sorry,
or
yeah.
should we be collaborating with you in some way?
Right. So as part of the program, so it's just like usually a new, when they'll tear up the basketball court, install an underground storage tank and some other drainage systems, repave the court, we'll get color seal coat and lines, but that's where sort of the funding stops from DEP. So we have that note on there because then what we'll do is usually approach the council members and ask for expense money to purchase backboards. So it couldn't hurt from the community board's perspective to talk to the electeds to say, we really could use backboards, because it's a shame to sort of have a brand new basketball court and then not have new backboards. So it's sort of a flaw. I'm not throwing them under the bus, but it's a flaw in the program that we sort of get a new basketball court, but don't get everything new. So when we like to try to get backboards when we can. So that's kind of what that note was about.
Yeah, okay. I think we have a little bit of time, maybe. I gotta look at the. Oh,
Well, it
spring
sounds like
2022.
they're,
Yeah, okay. Actually, they're both spring 2022.
Mhm.
So maybe when the new council people are in office.
Yeah, we got, I think we got quotes on backboards recently, and between somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 a piece, I think, something like that.
Mm,
They're relatively expensive.
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
all right. Now, do we have any board members who are not on the committee who have questions? And maybe, Taya, you could help me with this if people raise their hands or put
No
it in the
problem.
chat that they want to speak.
No problem. I see Mr. Ian Gallo. Can I ask you to come off mute, Rain? No problem.
Chris, thanks for the presentation. I always like to hear, the walkthrough of the capital projects. The ones that are happening in Kevin Plaza Park, as you all know, they were funded, a long time ago. So it's great that they're actually happening. But I just wanted to talk about the Northern Lawn and, how that came about. It was through the Cadman Park Conservancy and the Dubbo Neighborhood Alliance really advocating for water. So you didn't mention it, but that's the key reason for the rehabilitation. And when Commissioner Jeffries, we had met with him and Councilmember Levin many times, and they were trying to find the funding, and he just said, well, we're not doing that, we're not fixing it. The fix for the water was $700,000, and we felt that we just wanted the fix and the capital dollars could go to other parks. But it was just said to us that once you rip it up, it's just, you have to do it all. And thankfully Councilmember Levin and Commissioner Marr are really responsible for getting the mayoral funding for that. I know we talked about the Toba mentioned in the chat, and Sabrina mentioned, and Toba wrote about in the chat about the roof. When Toba got this funding to do a report by Toba, correct me if I'm wrong, Rand Engineers, and somebody made a donation to the Conservancy to do it. And one of the things, which I could follow up and send that to you, was that the roof needed to be repaired. Now, recently, I was with Commissioner Marr, and he said the roof was not in disrepair. So I think aside from this meeting, we'll follow up with you about that. But I will send you the RAND report so you can look at it.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Like I said, it's the first time I'm sort of hearing about the roof, but it sounds like it goes back a long time. And my apologies for not acknowledging the hard work you do in the park, and thank you for that.
Oh, no, it's really, forget it.
No, it's okay. As I don't know if everybody knows, I held a similar role as Hannah at one point. I worked for Partnerships and Parks as an outreach coordinator. I didn't cover CB2, but sort of community advocacy and conservancies and volunteer groups is my background. So I really do appreciate it. But yeah, and I can, if send me the background you have on the roof project, and I can speak to Commissioner Moore about it.
Yeah, if you could put your email in the chat, that would be great.
Will do.
Taya, do we have any other board members with questions?
I do not see any hands at this time.
Okay, then we can open it to public questions. Do we have people who have questions?
Toba, was your question answered? Thank you for the details in the chat.
Yes, hello?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Toba, yes, we can hear you.
No, that's
Okay,
someone else. That's not, this is Toba. Hi.
Oh,
It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Right, please remember to identify yourself when you start speaking. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Okay. All right, my name is Lloyd Rodriguez, a long advocate of Commodore Barry Park, football coach, director of the Brooklyn Pit Bulls, and also one of the main advocates for securing money for the field and the lights which I believe there's more than enough money for that. My question is, we fought to secure grass, which was the original surface that they were going to use, because turf fields tend to get worn out the more you program. Now, I was told that you guys was digging up and you found some toxins in the dirt. And I really like to know, because we've been out there 15 years straight all year round. So if there's anything that could have been harmful, I would really like to know. So I would definitely like to follow up on your results for that. But my question is, what can we do to keep the grass? I mean, we have enough money for the field. I was told to cover the toxins, we would need more money to keep a grass surface. However, we're still on the field with a grass surface. And what can we do to keep that grass? Because the turf field gets hot in the summer, even when you change this, they're no longer using the shredded tire, they're using cork or different substances. I'm not sure. But what can we do to do that? And do we have enough money to keep the grass surface?
I think that's what we're trying to work out now. I know you, and thank you for the work you do at Commodore Barry. I know you're a longtime partner of Parks. That's what we're trying to work out now. I think the most recent is we're looking to add funding to cover the remediation costs. I think where we landed most recently was a synthetic turf, but then I think it may have gone back to natural turf. So I can reach out to you directly, Coach, with the findings. And I know you've been involved in this project since the beginning, and I will certainly get back to the larger board with any notes on kind of the contaminants that were found on site and what the remediation entails and what's needed on site.
Yeah, we really
Okay.
appreciate that, Chris. And Lloyd, it's good to hear from you. It's been a while. Thanks for being here tonight.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So, all right, do
Thank
we
you
have
for the-
other questions, Taya?
We could go back to Toba, and I think
Okay,
Andrew Otto also has a question.
I mean, I'm okay. I mean, as long as the roof is going to be addressed, as Doreen rightly said, it's in the engineer's report. I and Commissioner Moore did a walkthrough with Rand Engineering, maybe as many as 7 years ago, and it was in disrepair then. And I think that we at the Conservancy and we work with a lot of veterans organizations. They want to see the preservation of the War Memorial. It's great that the ramp is there, but if the ceiling falls in, or if the wall of honor, which is wood and brass, if that gets damaged, then we're in a big mess. And so we're wondering, we're hopeful that the commissioner and the city will understand structurally, piece by piece, we're trying to get this thing rebuilt. So the roof would definitely be a great consideration. I appreciate it. I just want to say real quick that Hannah, I get all your emails and I think you're great. And Chris, I think thank you so much for your work. And I'm happy to be here today, being part of this, just giving me 2 seconds to say hi. So thanks everybody. We're all lovers of parks, and I'm glad to see that Manager Keys is here and everybody else. So thank you all very much.
thank you, Toba. Did we have anybody else who wanted to ask a question at this point?
Hi, this is Andrew Otto here from NYC Bike Polo. I just had a question because I was curious. I saw in the Commodore Barry Park picture, there's a future phase, and I live close by it, and I was just looking at the diagram, and it looks very different than it does now. So I was just curious what it was.
Yeah, if you'd like, we have our needs report, and that has this in a little bit more detail. So what you're seeing here was part of a master plan study that we did while we were working out designs for the field. So none of that is sort of set in stone. What we would do is when we got funding for the other side, and I can't remember the slide, I think it's maybe 15 million was the quote for the future phase. And again, we might not get all that in one shot, but we may end up doing the future phase in phases. But if we did get the money, we would have a public scope meeting, and that would be the public's opportunity to come together with our designers and sort of tell us exactly what you want to see in the park. But as part of the master plan, we sort of had this synthetic turf mound and runaround area, and sort of trying out some sort of new design elements in parks. So that was sort of just kind of a fun just sort of like a schematic design, but nothing set in stone.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome, Andrew. Good to have you here.
Lorena Allen had a question. Ms. Allen? Let's see if I can see you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, I was going to put on my video. Hi, my name's Lorena Allen, and I'm wondering with regards to Fort Greene Park, why has no alternative plan been considered whatsoever to one that would not include destruction of healthy mature trees, and that would also include preserving and restoring the mounds, the AE by mounds, the 1971 project?
No, I'm familiar. No, we've had several discussions about the project. At this point, we're moving forward with the project as approved by the board. And like I said, we're in the middle of a environmental assessment statement. So this is actually an older presentation that Taya is sharing, but right in here it says environmental impact statement. It's actually an environmental assessment statement. So that's what's in process now. But again, we're moving forward as approved by the board.
Wait, so why is there absolutely no consideration to preserve the trees? And there are other plans were submitted, and the mounds are unique to Fort Greene Park. So I'm just wondering why absolutely no consideration was given at all to preserving the trees and the unique structures like the mounds and other things.
Let me just say one thing, Lorena, welcome, and
Thank
glad to
you.
have you here, but we have discussed this at, I would say, almost half a dozen meetings. There've been all kinds of discussions about this project and different viewpoints raised.
I don't know this, but my question hasn't really ever been answered. So I'm just wondering if it could be like, why can't there be some sort of, I don't even think a compromise. I mean, there were other suggestions. Why a flat hex block, non-permeable, why continue in that direction when there are so many more innovative things available to us, and also preserving what we really need so much, which is the trees. And I've been on a lot of these discussions, and I've been following closely. I think you guys know, and yeah, so just why not at all? Like, there could be such an amazing compromise. I mean, our park needs, 24 million seems like far exceeds everything else, what everybody else is getting. We could use the repair, we could use the beautification, we could use accessibility for people, in so many different situations, but why is it never even been considered for the last 4 years? I mean, I've been here 4 years.
Okay, I wouldn't use the word never. I think there've been all kinds of discussions, and I don't know. I mean, Chris is welcome to answer that question. I just don't know that really is within the scope of what we were planning to talk about tonight.
But every time I've asked that question, that's been the same answer, and there's never been an answer. I mean, I truly am hoping that there is a possibility that we can save those gorgeous mounds and save the trees. And there are ways to do that. I don't know why it has to be a flat. That's the most dynamic, it's a dynamic park, and these are dynamic structures. So why flatten it like a Target parking lot?
I'm not comfortable answering. Because I know there's been litigation, I can get an answer for you this week from the commissioner. But again, like as Barbara mentioned, I know we've spoken at length about it at several meetings.
Well, if I could just say, but the question has never been answered. And I would just really, it would be such a shame if those just go by the wayside for no reason. Like, there's no reason has ever been given why that has to be flattened. why they have to be destroyed. Why do the trees, I mean, I can just say two things, but why do they have to be destroyed? And nobody's answered it. And I'm really hoping, like, I don't want to, like, doesn't need to be a fight, but why can't a consideration it's never from the first meeting ever been given to something different? And the community really wants to preserve both of those things, the immediate community.
Can get you a response from the commissioner, from the agency, but I don't have one at this point.
Are there any other questions from members of the community?
Is there, I mean, I'm sorry, can you tell me who the
Oh,
commissioner
no,
is?
I'm sorry. We need to move on. There's a 2-minute time limit for public commentary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming again. Ms. Zollergren, I don't see any other hands.
Okay, so in that case, Chris, do you want to go on to the second part of your presentation, the capital needs analysis?
Sure. Okay, so this one is will be pretty brief. It's every year we do an analysis of the parks in need in the community board, and I know we've shared this recently with the board. Just as sort of a disclaimer, this is our wish list. These are the parks that we consider in most need in the community board. This doesn't cover everything that's in need in the community board. I'm sure there are things that you may feel personally are in need or should be at the top of the list that aren't here. So we really would love to hear from the community board or any community member about sort of identifying projects that are in need. But again, this is what we consider sort of the top need in the borough, in the board. So Commodore Barry, I mentioned this earlier. The other sort of disclaimer, and I sort of alluded to it, is, this is an estimate of $15 million. That would be, maybe a mayorally funded project where we would get everything all at one shot. But that doesn't always happen. So, we may end up doing any sort of estimate on any of these parks in phases. So, but again, if we had all the money all at once and we wanted to do this phase, it would be to reconstruct the playground, the handball court, and what we call a multi-purpose play area. So if you ever been to Commodore Barry and you've seen that large asphalt lot, that's what we consider a multi-purpose play area. So again, 15 million for that one. Edmonds Playground, again, similar situation. You have tennis courts and basketball courts and playgrounds. So an $8 million figure sort of all at once would renovate that. A lot of times what we do is make things more park-like. So we're adding landscaping. We will sometimes add, this mentions the addition of a futsal area. That's something commissioners, futsal area that's really popular. It's sort of like a small synthetic turf area that, it's not necessarily designed for sports, but like maybe you pick up soccer for younger children or picnicking and things like that. So just sort of taking these spaces that are very asphalt and concrete dominated and making them a little bit more green. Similar at Oxport Playground, again, these are the parks that we've identified in most need. Similar situation, again, renovation, playground, the courts. Oracle Playground, very similar, $8 million figure for new basketball courts, multi-purpose play area, synthetic turf, picnic area. This is replacement of the play equipment, new drinking fountains, everything brand new, new drainage, all new utilities. Pratt Playground, very similar again, $8 million figure for playground and courts, etc. So that's all we have. I know, again, it's not super comprehensive, but it's what we identify as sort of in top need. So if we can get, I know the community board is preparing their needs as well. If we can, work together, sort of identify other projects in the board, that'd be very helpful for parks. But that's what we have at the moment. So I can take that down.
I thank you for that, Chris. One thing I didn't hear you mention in this second presentation is bathrooms. Is there any consideration? I don't know all of these parks, playgrounds, but and I know bathrooms are a big ticket item, but it's just it's always a big concern.
We get funding occasionally for a renovation of a bathroom. We don't like to ask for it because a renovation of an existing bathroom is about $1.5 million. And the construction of a new bathroom, new comfort station is somewhere between 3 and 4 million. So we'd rather have a council member or the borough president or the mayor give us 3 or 4 million and redo a playground rather than redo a bathroom. I have to check. I think it was mayoral money that was given to renovate the comfort station at Commodore Barry. So occasionally we do get those funds, and sometimes our internal citywide services team at Parks, they have a engineering and architecture program that will help us renovate those buildings. But like I said, in general, we don't like to ask for that money because we'd rather do a playground before we do a bathroom.
Okay. So are there any committee members who have questions about this aspect looking forward?
And Ms.
I'm
Quinn?
sorry?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes, hi. Barbara, is it appropriate to share some of the items that we're placing on our needs list to sort of give back to Chris, or do we wait till that list is?
Well, I think, but I'm not sure if the list is finalized.
Yeah, I don't think it's finalized, but it's
And
definitely,
B,
I
if
wouldn't
you
say
wanna-
I wouldn't say it's completely in sync.
I don't think there's a problem if you want to share 1 or 2 items.
Yeah, that
you wanna
we're
bring
at least
attention to
considering for
at this point.
inclusion.
Sure.
So one was a collective item on playground surfacing. Chris, you mentioned
Right.
that couldn't be covered under the DEP
This is
scenario. But
safety
we've noted
surfacing.
that as a need in several of the playgrounds. There's a playground up in Brooklyn Heights. The name is escaping me, but I would say it's a safety hazard in that playground. It has been for several years. So that's something we're surfacing. Something that came to us from the community is adding lighting to Fort Greene tennis courts. And one of the reasons why we like the lighting, as is noted in the Commodore Barry plan as well, is it increases the more community members can use and have access. And then the third item that I would surface as a capital improvement is Golconda Skate Park. They're in need of some upgrades there. That's actually a case, well, I guess they have a bathroom, but the bathroom's not open year round, so that's not capital necessarily. But they have some capital and some expense needs on that park, which is pretty much used year round. In conjunction with that, I saw in my email over the weekend that Borough President Adams has committed to, as mayor, 1% of city funding to parks. And I mean, that would be a very dramatic change for the New York City parks. I forget what the funding level is, but I know it's nowhere near 1%, right? Just any info to share in reaction to his statement on that, Chris?
I don't have anything on sort of an agency behalf, but
yeah,
I mean, you mentioned some of the maintenance concerns. I mean, there are things that we can address in the short term, when we know about them. So if there's issues at Golconda, or if there are safety surface issues at some of the playgrounds, those are some of the things that we can do in-house now, tomorrow, this week, or next week. We don't have to wait for capital money always in every situation. So it would be great to know some of that stuff, and thank you for flagging it. And if you have, if you want to send me an email with some details on some of that, we do have a couple other programs that we can utilize, and we have a state of good repair program that's mayorally funded, where we, if we identify a basketball court that needs to be repaved, or fencing that needs to be repaired, we have these large sort of citywide contracts that can help to do that sort of stuff. So in that case,
all right, I'll coordinate with with Taya. I mean, I think the playground surfacing issue, at least in Brooklyn Heights, has been surfaced several times. And I think they even have an organized friends group. So, but we can be more coordinated in surfacing that to you.
Yeah, we'd love to look at it. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the skateport park, it sounds like you might be able to address the winterizing issue there. I mean, we've discussed this a couple of times.
Oh, that's what it was, Barbara. It was a winterizing of the bathroom.
Yes.
Right.
And the other thing is there are leaks from the BQE into the skateboard park. Is that something that might come under the fundings you were just referring to?
Not really. I mean,
No, okay.
that's we work with TBTA on that sort of stuff with bridge and bridge supports and things, and they do repairs.
Okay.
And we have an interagency department that sort of works with the other agencies on those kind of things. But if there are issues that we can flag for them, we'd love to know about them. I'm sure Andrea is aware of some of that stuff, and I can speak to her as well.
Yeah, but if you could do something about winterizing the bathrooms, because that park is used. They've made the point very clear to us that it's a park that's used all 365 days of the year. So that would be terrific.
Yeah, I can speak to our shops and see where we're at with that. Yeah.
Any other questions from committee members?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead, Lenny.
Yeah, you mentioned Edmonds Playground as one of the parks on your agenda. I surveyed that park over the summer, even going back to last winter, and it does need a lot of repaving in there. There are 3 schools that use the place. In 2 buildings, there are 3 schools. And I spoke to some of the people that run some of the programs with the kids every day in there. The biggest concern that they seem to have was the kids tripping and hurting themselves on the broken up sidewalks. And some of the rubber padding needs replacing. The area around I see the map here, but there's the area around the sprinkler, which I can't quite locate for some reason. I think it's in here. Well, you don't see my thing. I think it's where on the upper left part in the middle somewhere in there. It's really broken up around that sprout. I saw it when it wasn't on in the winter. Of course, it's not going to work. It's going to be running. It's very broken up, the concrete in there. And the kids are going to trip on that. They could fall into that stanchion. It might, maybe that's what it's called, the water sprout thing. I think that's to me, it looked pretty dangerous. And I don't know that maybe I missed it in your presentation. Are they going to redo the surface of the basketball courts there?
I believe in this green infrastructure project, they will be.
Yeah, because it was broken up, not badly, but it was broken up. And it could only have gone downhill from what I saw.
Sure.
So I have 2 questions, but with Lenny speaking, I know one of the issues that came up certainly at our last meeting was a possibility of dog runs and how best to approach that with parks in being successful in expanding the number of dog runs that we have. I was wondering, Chris, if there's anything you could talk about in relation to that this evening.
Specifically, acquiring building new dog runs?
Yes, last time we heard it's University Place, right?
Right.
And the other one was, I forget the name of it, but just, Lenny is particularly interested in University Place and was looking for some guidance as to next steps.
Well, I went down there. I live very near University Place. It's a pretty large area of just it's wasted area, really. It's a large green lawn that is really not kept up well. It's usually has litter all over it that doesn't get picked up for months at a time. I saw that maybe this past week, they cut down a tree that was leaning into the sidewalk at the corner of Fleet Street and Flatbush Avenue. If they finally took it down, I saw what was doing with the tree. The tree was rotting from the inside, which was completely unsurprising to me.
Excuse me,
And-
maybe,
But
Is-
yeah, actually, that's not really the issue that I have in mind. People walk their dogs there now currently. I think it's an ideal place for a dog park. The people there are very enthusiastic about having a dog park there. I even got a list of 15 people committed to a Friends of University Place Dog Park at that site. It's an ideal place for a dog park due to the ever-increasing density of population in that area. The people need a place for their dogs. It would be something very aesthetically pleasing to everybody in the neighborhood. It could be, if done right, there could be a few benches and maybe some tables at one corner or one end of the dog park where people could sit, have lunch, maybe just rest weary shoppers going by. It's a huge shopping area too now. It's right adjacent, as you see in this picture here on screen, right adjacent to LIU, their main campus entrance. The students, yeah, that's it. That's the area. That's a small part of it. But if you go towards the left, I don't know who's doing the scrolling, but if you keep going towards the left, it's an even bigger area than it looks right here in this presentation. It's just ideal.
Bing, if you could just give us
Barbara, I think we may have lost your audio.
Yeah, I can just step in. Chris, is there just anything you'd want to just encourage or coach to get that moving?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's been conversations. I know Hannah's was at the last meeting, and I know Commissioner Mars weighed in a bit on this site specifically, but sort of in general, I just want to, for the group's knowledge, there are 4 things that we require for creation of a new dog run space, and that's 1, a group that organized group that will help maintain the space. So it sounds like you do have that. Number 2 is overwhelming support from the community board. So normally that's in form of a letter of support issued by the board. 3 is capital funding. So sort of the newer dog runs that we've seen recently installed, anywhere from 900,000 to about $1.5 million in funding. And 4 is a site that Parks approves and for a dog run. So I think that's the issue with this specific site. I know the commissioners looked at it. I think there's some challenges here with some MTA infrastructure underneath. No, a dog run is not just everything on top, but it requires actually a lot of excavation and a lot of drainage infrastructure. So I think that's one of the concerns at this specific site. I know there's some art programming that already happens here. There's concerns about displacement there. So I think we'd be willing to, if you have other sites in mind, we'd be willing to look at some of them. I know there's other parks where it might be more appropriate, but I think at this point, this site was looked at by the commissioner and deemed not appropriate.
On what basis does he think it's inappropriate?
I can check in with him. He's actually out this week, but as I understand it, it's concerned over the MTA infrastructure and some of this public space displacement. But I can get you a more direct answer on that. Because I know
Okay.
that last one is sort of arbitrary in that, Parks deems the site appropriate. But there are other sites in the board we'd be willing to look at if there are, if there are intention on building dog runs elsewhere, but.
Yeah.
I could understand if there is a problem with the MTA running underneath there, but there are trees growing there. It doesn't get damaged in these major storms that we've been having lately. And as a layperson, I'm not an engineer. Certainly not that. But as a layperson, I don't know. I do know that it holds up in these superstorms that we've been getting recently. And I don't know if the subway there, maybe it's deep enough below the surface, the subway infrastructure, that the two may not be incompatible, one atop the other, one deeper below and one on top. I know you have to put different layers underneath the lawn. Now, I'm looking off camera, I'm looking at a picture I have that, well, I guess I could hold it if I'm big enough on screen. This is a picture here from Flatbush Avenue of University Place. And you can see the lawn and the area itself. And I could show you pictures. I'll just show one more, just one more. Here's a guy just coming through
This
with his dog.
conversation offline.
And no, my point is, last time at our meeting, we asked that an environmental study be done there. I think we were going to we voted to draw up a letter. I don't know if it has been drawn up yet. I wonder if that can be done. So it really is looked at, and I say, well, it looks like it may not be good. It may be good, it may not be good. If a study was actually to be done there, that would really answer the question, is it feasible to be done there or not? That tree there, by the way, that one that's leaning way to the left, that was the one that, not that one, the other way. That one right there, that tree is no longer there. It was just drooping all over the street. Looks like a person could walk through the street. It couldn't before that tree was taken down. But that's irrelevant, really.
If I could ask you to email me any requests you have and any and just copy Hannah on the request if you have her email as well. And I can speak to the commissioner when he returns, but I know he's already looked at the site and feels that it's not appropriate, but we can continue the conversation. I can help you with either advocating for this site or looking at others in the community board if you'd like.
All right, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Barbara, are you there?
I believe she's frozen again. I think we could pass the ball to you, Suzanne, if you're okay.
Would you mind, you might be faster than me, pulling the agenda back up?
No problem. Actually, Chris, I don't mean to keep Chris here so late, but you are the agenda tonight, Mr. Yandoli. So are there any additional board questions about capital updates or capital assessment in the district? Ms. Quint, are you comfortable with moving to more public questions?
Yes.
Okay, I see James Ulan has his hand raised.
Hi, thank you so much, Lenny, Suzanne, Barbara, Caroline, Hannah, Chris, Taya. I think I got everyone except Jennifer.
I have to try.
Jennifer, I'm
It's
sorry.
amazing.
Could you close
Sabrina? But anyway.
Thought you weren't.
Thanks so much for taking my question and making these meetings available to the public. I'll try to be brief because I know it's the evening time, it's dinner time, and these things can last a long time. But I was just wondering what the process is for a future friends group in the making to make a very small capital request to be considered to be submitted to Chris and his team from CB2. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Hannah, I don't know if you want to field that one.
So James, I know I emailed you about like the friends list, how to start a friends group. I'm not sure if you got back to me about that, but for you, like what I would do is I recommend you do a visioning for the site that you're looking at with the community, see what they want to vision there. And after that, I would recommend you generate, like, we have a program, technical assistance, that provides visioning for the site, for the park. I'm not sure, is it Steuben you're asking for, or?
Actually, it probably is, but it might not be. And Andrew Otto, who's here, and Emily Croft are gonna, if you all have time for them, tell you more there. But potentially,
So I would just say, just in terms of like protocol during the public forum, we're happy to give you guys 2 minutes to sort of lay out what you're thinking, because in addition to speaking to the Parks Department, the Community Board Parks Committee would love to hear what your part of the community wants and feels is needed, so that we can incorporate into, if not this year's statement of needs, because that's really on deadline, into future statement of needs. So we would love to have you at least start that conversation during community forum. If you have a formalized group that would like to come back, I'm sure we would find a way on a future agenda to accommodate that as well.
Great, Suzanne. And I imagine there might be time later for those 2 minutes.
Yes, yeah, we have a public forum where anyone can bring up something parks related during this meeting.
Great. And then last question, the visioning process, is that something I can understand by Googling it and reading about it online?
I think talking to Hannah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he is. I was going to respond. So is that okay? Respond, Susan, is that okay?
Well, I think specific to the visioning process, why don't you guys speak offline about what that is and help him? Because I don't think it's intuitive. So it would be great to coach them on that. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thanks.
Yeah, no, it's good to connect the people and the dots as makes sense in this meeting. So any other comments or questions from the community for Chris in terms of his presentation on capital projects or needs?
You hear me now? I have a question.
Yes, Barbara.
Okay. So very quickly, 2 things. Do you have any, Chris, any thoughts as to whether the new administration might help to get projects done quicker? Maybe the process might be changed under a new administration. And my other question has to do with climate change. I've read some information about actions that the city has taken, and I was just wondering, maybe it's for another meeting, what the Parks Department is doing in reference to climate change as it impacts our parks.
So the first one is, I hope so. The new administration, it's hard to say exactly what their priorities will be. I know this current administration, it was a lot about transparency, and we actually, to the capital process, and we actually sort of, under Commissioner Silver, we sort of sped up the capital process a bit, and it was certainly more transparent, and with the addition of the capital tracker and things like that, more public information, but it is sort of painfully slow still. It's 3 to 4 years depending on the project. So yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful that the new administration will prioritize it, but it's hard to say. And then as far as climate change, it is something I'm sure I know for a fact the agency is looking at it. I couldn't speak to sort of their official viewpoint, but just from being involved in capital projects in Brooklyn, I know on a case-by-case situation, we've done a lot of resiliency work at Coney Island and places like that, and all our projects, we're including working with DEP for the green infrastructure programs, and we're including native plants and working with stormwater retention. So there are things that we're trying to be better when we redesign parks, but I can get you a more sort of consolidated answer from the agency as far as our official stance on climate change and how we're addressing it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So do we have any other questions from the public?
I don't see any other questions from the
Okay.
public on capital assessment.
All right. So Chris, I think really, thank you so much for being here tonight and all you do. And I think we're going to go on to the next part of our agenda, which of course you're welcome to stay or not, depending on your schedule. So.
Great. I can stick around for a bit.
Okay, great. Oh, I see. It looks like we're up to my report. The only thing I really wanted to talk about was, let me get my notes. Of course, I didn't bring them with me. We did have an unveiling to speak of the Spanish plaque in Fort Greene Park recently, which the Parks Committee was invited to attend, and of course, which our, thank you for that, which our committee had voted on. As you may recall, the original plaque had been put up, was much larger, but had been put up without any permission. It didn't adhere to all the rules of the park, and it had worn away over time. It's now located in the visitor center. And what we learned last week was that it's really taken 15 years to produce this new plaque, which is really very attractive and is set up in a lovely area, which you could see from that photo. So I wanted to let you know that here's something we voted on, discussed, and now has come to fruition. So thank you to all the committee members for their efforts on that. And that's really all I have in my chairperson's report for this evening. Is there any other committee business?
I see no hands.
Thank you. So we'll go on to the community forum. I think we've already had some interest in that. James, did you want to talk on that, or is it Adam?
Barbara, can I defer
Andrew?
to
Yeah.
Andrew and Emily, if that's okay?
Sure.
Hi, yeah. So this is just a quick little time for us to
Okay.
introduce ourselves. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. So we were here in the last meeting a little bit, and then Taya said it would be useful for us to just come this one, introduce ourselves, and we'll try to give a more, I don't know, formal presentation, try to get together what we're asking for, if anything, for the next meeting. But this one's just a quick little introduction. And we did throw a little presentation together, so I'll just go ahead and share my screen real quick. Does that work? Yeah, I think you can see that, right? Great.
Yes.
Right, so we're New York City Bike Polo. I want to tell you a little bit about bike polo because I think probably most of you haven't heard of it. If you can imagine hockey on bikes, it's kind of like that. People have a mallet in one hand and they steer the bike with the other hand, and then there's two teams, each with 3 players on it, and they compete to score goals in a net. So it's a lot like hockey. We are co-ed. It's a co-ed sport all over the world. It's played in over 30 countries and 300 cities. We have sent members of our club to compete in qualifiers and world tournaments, and we often host tournaments ourselves, at least before COVID we did. And our club is a member of the North American Hardcourt Bike Polo Association, which is the governing body for North America, and there's a few other governing bodies around the world. And then just real quick, I think Emily's going to step in and just say a little bit about our club.
Yes, absolutely. So I've been a member of the New York City Bike Polo Club since 2018. This club itself has been around much longer than I have, more than 15 years at this point. Some of the people that are in the club have been around for that whole time, but we always welcome new players. We have 40 plus active members right now that live in all of the boroughs, and we try to be very inclusive and include all people of all backgrounds. And we play at Steuben Park on Thursdays and Sundays, so twice a week normally. We'll play in every season throughout the winter. And yeah, we love to teach people to play. We have loaner bikes. We always welcome people to borrow mallets, anything that they need to play. We always want people to come hang out, join us, and have fun. And in general, we're dedicated to safety. We have a whole official rule set that we abide by. We're really dedicated to diversity and inclusion as well, and just taking care of the spaces that we're a part of, both in New York City and any other cities that we play in across the US and across the world. So we try to be stewards of the areas that we're a part of. So we like to work with parks whenever possible, and that's part of why we're here today. Otto, the screen went black. Okay, cool, it's back.
Black, okay.
But no, it just came back. But yeah, that's, I think, most of what we had to say about this slide.
Yeah.
If you want to move to the final one. Cool. And we mostly just wanted to see if you had any questions for us based on kind of this brief introduction. And thank you for listening.
I forgot to mention at the beginning, like, why we're here. We're a little bit homeless at the moment. We used to have a home club in Chinatown at Sarah D. Roosevelt Park, and there was a hockey rink at on Cherry Street. I forget what the name of the park over there is called. It was called Mafo Hockey Rink below the Manhattan Bridge, but that was recently demolished and turned into some soccer fields, and soccer players kind of ran us out of Sarah D. Roosevelt as well. So we're playing in Steuben for now and having a great time, but we just want to start the conversation about, I don't know, how to find a legitimate home in New York. So that's it for the little presentation. Hopefully we'll have more to talk about in a future meeting.
All right, well, looking forward to hear that further presentation. Thanks so much. And this is my first introduction to bike polo, so it certainly sounds interesting.
If I may say something, if you Google us and go to Google Maps, it's the Pitt New York Bike Polo Club. So it's a little official, but like Otto said, we are somewhat currently homeless. So we would like to officialize everything past Google. And yeah, thank you for listening and for your time.
Barbara, is it okay if I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Just because I know some questions have come up about Steuben. What's the ideal surface, and so you mentioned a hockey rink, is that what's ideal?
Yeah, something like that. We need walls to keep the ball in play. A smooth concrete surface. A full-size hockey rink is usually a little bit too big for bike polo, but smaller street hockey rinks sizes are usually good. Okay, because
I'd love to help you try to, as in conjunction with our maintenance operations team, but help you guys kind of find a spot that works where you won't get displaced or have to move around.
Yeah.
So, just knowing that I can take a look tomorrow and see what we have in the community board, and are you open to spaces outside of community board too, or do you want to stay sort of local? Okay.
Yeah, we're open. We're open.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I know there was some concern about using the handball court at Steuben, but we'll work something out, and I can get back to you guys with some alternate sites. Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. Yeah, and a couple of cities have built dedicated bike polo courts and everything. Just like as we're thinking about ideas, not that that's what we're looking for at this moment in time, but
yeah, I mean, we've heard there are things that are formalized now that a few years ago would have sounded crazy in a way. I mean, we've built safety surface areas specifically for Tai Chi. We are building skate parks all over the place when that was sort of always like at one point that was a weird thing to do. So I mean, there nothing's out of the question, but I think we can figure something out.
Awesome. And yeah, usually we share the space with, say, roller skaters or street hockey or other mixed use spaces.
Cool. Do you have Hannah's contact? Okay. Yes. So I can get Hannah. I can get their contact for you, and we can work on it.
Great. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Terrific. All right, Taya, do we have any other? I think Richard wants to speak. Is there anyone else?
No, just our good friend Richard Morrow.
Okay, great. Turn it over to you, Richard.
Thank you very much. My name is Richard Morrow. I'm the captain for the New York City Park Stewardship Program for the North Heights, Fulton Landing, Dumbo, Vinegar Hill, and Farragut housing, as well as a licensed citizen pruner. I put a chat in the chat. The Parks Department is hiring. If you know people that are interested in a great job, outdoors, indoors, whatever, that's the place to go. Check it out, especially if you look up for the stewardship program. We need more people. Someone's at my door. Trees New York has programs that could fit into your parks and surrounding areas. Scheduling to get to know your park's greenery walk would be beneficial for young and old alike. We're always looking to train new citizen pruners. I also put Trees New York org in that thing. There's an old idiom, you can't see the forest for the trees. A global major field survey recently published in Science Advances on urban green spaces was made across 56 cities and 6 continents, found that all green spaces, even roadside verges, contribute to a wide range of important microbial communities that are critical for sustaining productive ecosystem services, such as filtering pollutants, sequestering carbon dioxide, and much more. I also put that information in the chat. Please look it up. It's sort of a synopsis from Science Daily, but it covers many issues. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Have a good evening and good night.
Thank you, Richard. If there are no other items for community forum, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn from my committee members.
Looks like a yes.
Okay, I'm not saying, all right, so motion to adjourn, everyone in favor? All right, thank you, everyone, and particularly thank you to Taya and to Suzanne, who helped out when I ran into trouble there. I hope everyone has a good and safe evening. Bye-bye.
Thank
You
you.
too. Take care.
Thank you, Chris.
Good night, everyone.